Hey everybody, it's the Hey Poopy podcast. What that booty do from poop pleasure to health.
Hosted by me, Dave.
And me, Ellen.
Two curious people removing the stigma from your stinker. And why are we doing this? Because we love laughing and learning all the things about butts and helping them be the best they can be. And on today's episode, we have entrepreneur, inventor, Vik Kashyap. He is the founder of Toi Labs, and he invented the amazing, smart, genius toilet called TrueLoo.
Yes, he did. And we found him through Chelsea Wald's book, another one of Chelsea's wonderful suggestions. Her book, Pipe Dreams, check it out. And it was so cool to talk to somebody who's made this incredible smart toilet for mostly right now. It's being used for people in elder care because sometimes people in elder care can't communicate that they're having bowel problems, but he's figuring this out for urinary tract problems, incontinence, or blood in their stool. This smart toilet can figure it all out.
You can hear things like this awesome clip.
It's called the TrueLoo toilet seat. It looks like a very nice toilet seat, but inside of it is embedded a set of technology that understands who you are, whether you're standing, whether you're sitting, whether you're using an assistive device. It connects via Wi-Fi securely to transmit information. And the heart of this system is actually an optical scanning system that is using high-resolution methods to understand detailed information about your output. Things like the color, the clarity, the shape, the volume, and understand what's normal for a particular person and then what is abnormal. What this does is it is able to document important information about stool and urine so that it can catch these deviations and signs and signals and clues that something may be really wrong.
And there's plenty more where that came from.
I even heard recently on Howard Stern, he was talking about this toilet. So I feel like this is the kind of toilet that's going to be in everybody's household in the future. So if you guys have been interested in knowing more about a smart toilet, this is the episode for you.
Yeah, Vik is doing some great work. I mean, he teased there's some other things he's going to be working on as far as that same technology. But the guy is really kind of reinventing the toilet, the bathroom, everything. So you do not want to miss this episode.
Totally. And if you want to know more about us, go check us out at heypoopypodcast.com. Everything you want to know is right there.
Yes. And on to the shit show.
Are you soft as a panda, yet strong as a bear?
Bamboo is redefining toilet paper for the future, being more sustainable using bamboo fibers that grow 16 times faster than hardwood.
Bamboo is soft to the touch, yet strong so you use less TP with each wipe.
Septic safe, unbleached, and unscented for all those delicate parts.
And get 10% off with our promo code HeyPoopy at GoBamboo.com.
Go Bamboo, spelled GOBUMBOO.
We give a shit about our future. You should too with Bamboo.
Hey Poopy, how you doing? Hey Poopy, how you doing?
I'm just, trying to find a place with like-minded people to talk about like-minded things about me, about poop and stuff.
Hey Poopy, how you doing? Hey Poopy, how you doing?
Oh man, what's this right here? Is this a podcast about poop?
Hey everybody, it's the Hey Poopy podcast with
Dave
and Ellen. And this is episode 137. It'll always be number 2 to us. And we have a very, very special, exciting guest today, Vik Kashyap. I hope I said that right.
You did.
Oh my
Excellent.
goodness. And we learned about this incredible guest through Chelsea Wald's book, Pipe Dreams. He has a smart toilet to tell us all about, and I'm so excited. But before we go into who Vik is, we always love to go into how you've been pooping recently. So Vik, how have you been pooping recently?
I have been pooping surprisingly well these days.
Nice. That's good to hear. We love to hear that. On the Bristol stool chart, where do you think you're landing there?
Yeah, I'm between about a 3 and a 4
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
on the BSS.
Very healthy.
Pretty good.
Nice. How about you, Ellen?
as Dave knows, we have a weekly meeting. And as soon as I got on that phone meeting this morning, I had to warn them I will put them on mute so I could poo, because I had just finished my morning coffee and it was either they wait for me to be done or we just get that meeting started. And thankfully, it was not on FaceTime or on Zoom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, thank you for that too.
I listened for a couple minutes while I did my business. It was kind of like a Bristol 4, but in weird, like chunky pieces, but they was smooth. It was just wasn't as long and strong like I really like.
Okay.
But I've also noticed something recently that when I have to go poo really, really intensely, I get a runny nose. I would like to know what the comment that's what's going on there.
I don't know. Maybe you have allergies.
I literally will run to the bathroom and my nose will start dripping and I'll be having
maybe
to
the
blow
smell.
my nose and
Maybe the smell is just too much for you for your body.
Maybe my sinuses are like, let's block this disgustingness.
Exactly.
And clog up her nose.
You know?
But I just think that's very, maybe it's just something that's happening because I'm a middle-aged woman. I don't know.
Could be an evolutionary, thing.
Yeah.
Your body's adapting.
It's expelling everything all at the same time.
Fair enough.
Get out all this grossness.
Awesome.
Very strange. Dave, how about you? How have you been pooping?
My normal, I went to the bathroom early this morning and again a little after lunch around 12:30, 1:45, somewhere in the 4.5, 5 range. Pretty typical. I have just boring, nice, healthy bowel movements, so nothing to write home about. Nothing like epic like Ellen usually has. Yours is pretty tame today, actually.
It is, especially for a whole month off. I should have been making notes about all the various places I've been pooping. I did have a good friend of mine contact me that his 12-year-old daughter loves the Poop Map app. And he was asking me if I've used it. I downloaded it, but I surprisingly haven't used it yet. I should be checking in at all the big box stores that I poop in, from Lowe's to Wegmans to Target. Because every time I do errands, I'm pooping places. Why I'm not checking in, I do not know. But I was excited to hear that it's a big thing for the 12-year-olds. So maybe I need to get in on that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, now that we're all checked in,
Vik, just tell us a little bit about what you do besides your poo.
Yes. So I never thought that I would be so focused on poo, but I am.
You are not the first person to say that to us, and you will not be the last.
And the journey about how I got here and got so interested in it is another matter. And so I have a lower digestive disease. It's called ulcerative colitis. It's a pretty serious disorder. And about 15 years ago, I was told by my physician when I was living in New York City that I would likely need to have my colon removed. And rather than suffer that fate, I decided to experiment, and I developed a new treatment for my condition. It was a very new type of treatment. It was called helminthic therapy. At the time, in 2004, it was really not very tested or tried, and I developed a new therapy for my condition that seemed to really work. And I wanted to help other people and understand why it was helping me. So I approached scientists. By then, I'd moved to San Francisco, and I approached some scientists at UCSF, and I basically asked them if they'd be willing to study why this treatment that I developed was working, if at all. And so we worked together for 4 years, and I co-authored a paper that was published in Science in 2010. And starting from that's really what got me very interested in trying to see if there's a way to understand our digestive health in a way that's easy and convenient.
It's amazing. And you said you developed this system. Was it something that obviously it was 15 years ago, but how long did it take so you can see any real world effects in your life as you were, developing this?
Yeah, so this was a very interesting journey that actually it's been written about in 2 books, science books. One's called An Epidemic of Absence and the other's called Pipe Dreams. Mm-hmm. And what I did is became the first known person to actually isolate, embryonate, and take something called Trichuris trichura, which is the human whipworm that's been found in human beings for a very long time. In fact, Otto, or Ati, I believe, the first, fully frozen human being that was found in the Swiss Alps, was actually found to have this particular worm in their digestive tract. And so it took some time to answer your question, Dave. It took some time for me to see the effects of this. I mean, it was a long and involved process in order to do this. But once I had ingested them, it took a few months before the effects were really seen.
So to the audience out there, ulcerative colitis, from what I understand, and we've had one other guest on who's had it, it's kind of like an autoimmune disease where it just attacks your colon constantly. And from our other guest that we had on, he was just pooping like 12 times a day with blood in it, and it's terrifying and scary. So this is what was happening to you, yes, Vik?
That's correct. Bleeding, urgency, frequency, pain. Yeah, it's a pretty miserable disease to have, and it's quite surprising. It's part of a larger group of diseases called inflammatory bowel disease. So there's a similar but somewhat related disease called Crohn's disease. And between Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, there's over 3 million Americans that have this.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and our other guest, his mother had it, and when it started happening to him, he knew it wasn't cancer, and his mother had her colon removed, and he actually was on an experimental drug when we interviewed him. And I'm curious that if it's something that is part of your study, which would be really interesting. But the drug that he was on, the trials he was on, he was like, it's changed my life. I now live a normal life thanks to it. And it sounds like you're living a normal life thanks to it, but also have entered into the poop world. And thanks, Ellen. I do have a normal life. I do watch my diet. I actually control all of my symptoms through diet. Oh, good.
Nice.
And I don't take any what they call biologics, which are typically the treatments that are used.
That's amazing.
And it really is amazing. And part of what I wanted to do in creating what I've invented and been developing for the last few years, I was really designed to help people like me to better understand how their diet is actually affecting their health.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
Yes, same here.
So going through this whole process and everything, and you developing and founding Toi Labs and the TrueLoo, which I guess we're going to get into, obviously, throughout this interview. But would you say, like, your condition and, like, treating yourself, was that kind of the genesis of developing this thing? Like, is that part of it, or is that just, like, a more broader
100%, Dave. This was actually the complete reason and genesis for this. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that I would be a poop entrepreneur. I have built businesses in other areas, but I never would have imagined I would be doing this. And if it wasn't for my condition, if it wasn't for treatment that I pursued, I never would have really focused on developing this.
And how did you figure out these worms? Like, what? And I remember in Chelsea's book, it said that you went to Thailand to do this. So was there some doctor in Thailand that said, let's try out these worms? Like,
No. This is not an established therapy for virtually any condition. What I did is there's a hypothesis that came out of the UK in the 90s called the hygiene hypothesis. And that hypothesis really posits that it's the absence of nematodes and other types of bacteria that actually cause autoimmune disorders and inflammatory responses similar to IBD. And so taking that idea and moving it forward is really what I did. And so, I studied the range of worms that could be used and really zoned in on one particular species that is confined to your digestive tract that really doesn't have any significant adverse effects if you take too many of them, other than having similar side effects as to what I was already having. And so I felt like the safety profile was really well established, but no one in the U.S. would help me to to obtain these. These are not a approved treatment. People are afraid of legal liability. They're helping somebody to take something that's unproven. So I had to take it upon myself to find a source. And so I was able to luckily collaborate with some individuals who were scientists in Thailand and convince them of the seriousness of this inquiry that I was doing. And luckily, I had a parasitologist who's at a very well-known university in Bangkok who agreed to help me. And we were able to obtain a specimen from an 11-year-old girl that was then used to treat me.
This is so fascinating. I mean, it's incredible. And it's, I mean, it sucks that like you had to go that far to go do something like that, unfortunately. I'm glad that you're doing better, you're doing well, you have, your quality of life seems like it's gone up a lot, but the fact that you had to go all over the world to just do something that you probably could have done, back home, it's just, I guess it's an indictment on the healthcare system here. Fantastic.
Yeah, my physician would not help me. My wife at the time, who I later divorced, who was training to be a physician, disapproved of what I was doing. It was a very challenging journey for me and a very lonely one.
Of course.
Yeah.
We actually had another guest on, Kimberly Kay, who had intestinal failure. And she, thanks to like having doctors in her life, she realized that a fecal transplant would be really great. And she did a DIY fecal transplant, and it took, and she is like great now, but those are also completely illegal in the United States, and they're just starting the science on fecal transplants. And it's like, there's so much happening in our guts that we really need to do more science on and really discover. And it's amazing that you were able to figure this out so you didn't have to lose your colon.
Yeah, it was a really incredible journey for me, and it was what really motivated me to try to help others to avoid a similar fate.
Yeah, completely. It's incredible.
Yeah, which brings us to Toi Labs and the TrueLoo. So, I mean, it's, you said, like, it's a weird, I guess, turn to take as being an entrepreneur, and all of a sudden you're now building toilets. I mean, not downplaying anything, but it must have been like, what am I doing now? But the fact that it's helping so many people is amazing. So, in a way,
I got to tell you, I didn't go to Harvard to install toilet seats, and that's what I've been doing a lot of over the last few years. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
Vic, I think you need a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah. Some merch.
My Harvard degree got me installing toilets.
Sad but true.
So I guess, like, as you're writing this paper, you're partnering up, you're going through all this sort of like DIY testing with your own body. Within that, is that when Toi Labs grew out of that?
Yeah, I after going through this whole journey, working with a world-class team of scientists, including the chief of experimental medicine at UCSF, I began to think to myself, how can I bring the power of this to everyday people? How can I bring the power of studying the effect of what I put into my body on what it does to my output? And there's so many, it's not new, or it's not news that stool and urine contains a lot of valuable information about your health. We do lab tests all the time, but for anyone who's ever done a fecal test, it's an involved and messy process, and not one that you want to be doing every day.
Yeah.
And so it really got me obsessed with this notion that there's got to be a better way, and that better way ought to be something that's embedded into your day-to-day life. It ought to be something that you do every single day. But today, that act, pooping, peeing, we had no data from it. No information whatsoever. It's literally just flushed down the toilet. Imagine if we could actually use that simple act that everyone does and use it to be able to get deeper insight into your body. That idea stuck with me, and I became obsessed with figuring out how to do that. And it's been quite a few years and a lot of evolution, and a lot of times people, when you first start thinking about the problem, you think about it perhaps in a particular way, but we've over the last few years and millions of dollars and a phenomenal team, we've developed a product that I think is a real game changer in the world. And the reason why is it's so simple, it's low cost. It just replaces your existing toilet seat with something that scans your stool and urine in order to understand better how your health is doing.
Yeah, I mean, people wear smart watches or Fitbits or whatever to help them with so many other parts of their health. It only makes sense because, you know, we have these apps that we track everything that we're eating to lose weight. So why are we not talking about the stuff that's coming out of us?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I like
so important. It's like a vital sign that has gone unnoticed because no one's been able to capture it.
Right. And the fact that like you said, like it's set up in a way where to me it's like putting on a pair of socks. It's like in the background. You don't think about it. You don't have to there's no actual effort involved instead of just signing up for it and just having it installed. Other than that, it seems like a pretty seamless and easy concept. So that I love about it.
It is, and it only takes 15 minutes to install, and it's a really easy install. I've done a lot of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I loved on your website, one woman says, it reveals the body's secrets. And I was like, ooh, I want my secrets revealed. Like, that's kind of exciting. And I have a father who's currently he just got admitted into a care facility. He's in there for dementia. And so it really, really struck me at home that these TrueLoo toilets, these smart toilets, can really help these people because a lot of their caregivers don't know what's going on until sometimes it's too late. And this just seems so smart to you don't have to ask somebody with dementia, how's it's going?
Yeah.
The data's right there.
Exactly, Ellen. You know, if I can give a quick overview on the product and how it's used today.
Yes, please.
Yes,
yes.
please.
For our listeners would love that, actually.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm the inventor of this product, and it's called the TrueLoo toilet seat. It looks like a very nice toilet seat, but it doesn't look very different than other toilet seats. But inside of it is embedded a set of technology that understands who you are, whether you're standing, whether you're sitting, whether you're using an assistive device. It connects via Wi-Fi securely to transmit information. And the heart of this system is actually an optical scanning system that is using high-resolution methods to understand detailed information about your output. Things like the color, the clarity, the shape, the volume, things like this. And what we are able to do is then understand what's normal for a particular person and then what is abnormal.
Right.
And so what we found and where we initially have focused this product is really in the older adult market, because as Ellen was saying, there's a lot of people who have cognitive decline. They can't see properly. They can't feel pain. And they're at higher risk for a lot of problems that lead to hospitalizations. And so what this does is it is able to, in a much more automated and more intelligent way, document important information about stool and urine so that it can catch these deviations and signs and signals and clues that something may be really wrong and requires follow-up. And so we're going to be publishing some of our clinical studies very soon that demonstrate, how, for example, individuals with urinary tract infections, with dehydration, with upper and lower GI bleeding, with other types of issues are really able to benefit from a solution like this that's able to catch these things before they result in a fall or a hospitalization.
Right. No, it's amazing.
And some of the things that it detects is, besides UTI, is diarrhea, blood, cloudy urine, bladder infection, dehydration, and you were saying even color of stool, which we all know, when your poop is different colors, that could be also an indication of disease or sickness. But we also want to be clear that this is not a smart toilet that takes pictures. It's more scans. And so it's pointing down and not up at your private parts. So nobody has to be scared that they're going to have some spyware in their toilet. This is something that points down. It just wants to see what comes out of you, not what you look like.
That's exactly right, Ellen. So we take privacy extremely seriously. And in fact, when we started deploying these seats a few years ago, that was actually the number one concern, that people would have privacy issues with this. But the reality is this product, once you become educated about it, this product takes no pictures of any body part. It is a completely downward facing sensor. All of the data is de-identified. So even if it were captured, there's no way you'd know who it belonged to. And we take a lot of precautions. We actually, we follow HIPAA guidelines and comply with HIPAA guidelines around treating this as medical information. And so once people begin to understand not only the fact that there really is no privacy issue with this and the benefit that it can provide, a lot of the concerns that people have when they initially hear about this become addressed.
Yeah, once you get over that first hurdle, this thing should be in it should become part of every toilet that gets manufactured. Just for seriously, for the serious fact of again, you don't have to really think about it. You can get an alert from your doctor, your caregiver, whoever, and be like, hey, we've been noticing for your next checkup, there's some kind of weird stuff going on here. Let's get this checked out, which is fantastic to me.
Completely. And it also gets rid of the subjectivity. A lot of times people come to doctors and of course the doctor asks them, tell me about your stool and urine. It's ins and outs. It's a standard practice in medicine, but everybody has a different interpretation, different level of recall. I found one of the things that was very motivating to me, because sometimes I speak with doctors, we have a lot of doctors that are involved in the company, but I sometimes speak with doctors who say, well, the patient can just come in and tell me what's going on. But our studies have actually demonstrated that people's own objective interpretation and the recall of what their bowel and bladder habits are very different from reality. And so having this objective evidence really, I think, can improve the practice of medicine.
Completely. And you can pop up with the fact that a lot of people that go to doctors don't tell their doctor fully what's going on. I feel there's a lot of people out there that are either afraid to say something, embarrassed, and or afraid of the cost that's going to, wind up happening if there is something wrong with them. So
that's what our show is all about. We're trying to remove the stigma so people could actually talk about this stuff, because this stuff is so important for everybody's health. Everything that comes out of your butt.
Yeah.
One of the doctors who's on our team, his name is Dr. Shath. He's written 2 Amazon bestsellers that I'm sure many of your listeners have heard of. One's called What's Your Poo Telling You? There's called What's My Pee Telling Me? And it's amazing how much information and knowledge is contained about even just like you were saying, Ellen, the color of the stool. And people often do not understand the significance of that, and that information is not conveyed to their doctors. I can't tell you the number of stories. I can tell you story after story of people who say, look, I had this problem, and by the time it was found out, I had lost a tremendous amount of blood. I had a tumor that was so big I had to have my colon removed. I ended up with cancer. There's so many things where if you can tell that something is wrong early on, you can have a massive impact on someone's life.
Completely.
It kind of reminds me, I get those ads for Pretty Litter. It's like the kitty litter that changes colors if your cat has, but this is like the human version of it. It's a pretty smart toilet seat that tells us all our body's secrets. I love it.
To also echo, Vik, what you were saying about people not really. It gets to the point where you're seeing blood or things like that, where it's almost too late. A good friend of mine, his father is was a world-renowned surgeon in Canada, and he found out just going to the bathroom. He's like, I saw blood, and I knew that was not good, and he eventually died of cancer. But he was like, this guy was he's published so many papers and journal. Well respected, and again, even someone up that high up who's in the medical field, it's just that happens.
That totally resonates with me. I'm a very scientifically minded person, but when I was suffering from symptoms of ulcerative colitis, I was finding that I was not being objective. I wasn't really able to see things clearly because I'm in the midst of my suffering. And
Right.
so having something that's looking out for you, that's more objective, I think that can really be helpful.
Right. I have a question about the data. So you're collecting all this stuff. Is it, obviously you're sharing with patients or like someone, a caregiver or a doctor. Are you treating it as patient-doctor privilege? Are you keeping the data for yourself or possible other, I mean, obviously papers. I just want to kind of run through like how the data is being collected and all that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, the purpose of the data collection is really to automate what's called toileting logging. Okay, so this is what we're doing for these operators. So what's interesting about nursing homes and these senior care communities is that they actually, because of the cognitive decline and other aspects of their residents' lives, they actually have caregivers who are supposed to be tracking certain types of information about the output of the individuals. And so the purpose of our product in those settings is really to automate that so that the caregiver doesn't have to do this really unpleasant task, but also to be able to allow the machine to bubble up the issues that can then be reviewed. And so what we do is what we do with the data is that we have now that we've been doing this for quite a few years, we have pretty sophisticated ways of being able to fingerprint or identify problems in some of the data. And so what we do is once we've identified some of those problems, we then do a human review of them. And so that is just to make sure that this is indeed a problem, because we don't want to be telling people that they have a problem if they don't have one.
Right.
You know, and so before we give any type of signal or alert, we make sure that it's gone through a final review process, and then that information can be used in what we call the circle of care of the patient or resident. So their caregivers can use it, their physicians can use it. It's essentially a better way of collecting this information in a much more objective manner than what is being done.
Can I ask a question? What if I installed this in my dad's care facility and my 2-year-old nephew put a Lego in the toilet? How does it censor that? You know, like
Lego detected?
yeah. Or like a toy car. Is it like censor, this is a foreign object?
Believe it or not, we actually have dozens and dozens of what we call digital biomarkers, Ellen, where we have seen a whole different range of behaviors that humans have when they go to the bathroom. And what you described is one of many, many scenarios that we've actually seen. And so to answer your question, yes, the system, it gets more and more intelligent over time, and it's capable of understanding the difference between foreign objects, toilet paper, vomit, candy wrappers, all, fingers, there's a whole range of things that can happen. And so the system is able to discern that. And it's improving over time in terms of its ability to recognize these things.
That's so cool. Yeah, I was just curious because I was like, sometimes things go in the toilet that shouldn't be there.
we both had watched another interview you had done, and you mentioned computer vision. And I'm wondering is that kind of like what computer vision does? It's like the AI part of it, like it just learns that, yes, this is a Lego or this is a Lincoln Log or, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how many of your listeners have watched that episode on Silicon Valley, about the hot dog. But,
oh, my God. Yes, I have seen that one. It's very funny.
But, I've been in the tech world for a long time, and I actually believe, and this is part of the reason why we took the approach that we did with our first product that's in market, that this technology, which is called computer vision, which today is capable of driving cars, flying planes, bringing that into the medical domain, bringing it into a place where we're collecting this from a person's home. So we've, it's an immense amount of data. It's going to have a lot of value and a lot of applications. And so, getting into it, I mean, it's the technology is basically about understanding, what's in particular types of images and different types of sensors that we're using to collect these types of images and other type of visual data. But it's a it's a pretty proven technology when it comes to certain things. And so in a sense, that makes what we're doing less of a science experiment. It's not like we're trying to create a mini lab and put it in your toilet, which is what a lot of people first, when they hear about what we're doing, they think we're doing. But, that's what's so interesting about what we're doing is that it's actually very new. We're not just taking something and repurposing it into the toilet. It's actually a very brand new form of diagnostics that we're doing.
I think it's incredible. It's. I wish I had it here at my own apartment, which would be fantastic.
Well, hopefully, Dave, by next year, it will be available for you.
All right, fingers crossed.
And when it comes to installing it, like if I were to get this for my father in his care facility, does it plug in? Like how does that help? Like, do I need somebody from your company to install it? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, good question. So today, what we do is we train our nursing home customers to install these, and it's a really easy install process. And to answer your question about power, we decided that this definitely should not be a battery-powered toilet seat. Nobody wants the risk of an exploding toilet seat or having to charge it. You do not want a battery toilet seat. So we actually powered it, but we did it in a very unique way that allows you to get that power without having to install a new outlet. You can actually use your existing outlet. So it's not that hard. The hardest part is actually just making sure that the power cord is properly adhered. That's the hardest part of the whole install. But other than that, it's basically designed to, once it's been installed, to not have any maintenance associated with it. You can clean it the way you normally do. You go to the bathroom the way you normally do. It's all designed to be one and done.
Nice. That's amazing.
So it sounds like it's not a proper plug into an outlet. It's some other kind of power source.
No, it is plugged into an outlet, but we use a very thin wire that allows us to, and a long thin wire that allows us to basically snake it to your regular outlet in the bathroom. And then the way we do it is we set it up so that you don't lose that outlet. So you actually keep that outlet, but you get it plugged in.
Oh, okay.
That's so cool.
Very cool. You guys thought, obviously you thought of everything. It sounds very simple, which I love.
Yeah, it's really easy, and I think one thing that some of our senior residents talk about is that it's a little more comfortable. It's a little higher than your cheapy little plastic and wood seats.
Gotcha.
It's a little bonus.
Dave, you had one other question about Wi-Fi.
Oh, yes. So does this work if you don't have Wi-Fi access, or?
That's a great question, Dave. And part of the reason why right now we've been working with all these senior homes is that they do have Wi-Fi. Right. But once you go to people's own homes, some people don't have Wi-Fi. And so for that, we actually will have another solution that's going to allow you to get access without Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay, cool. Amazing.
Yeah, because I was thinking some of the rural areas that we even learning during the pandemic, there's so many places that couldn't do at-home schooling because they didn't even have proper Wi-Fi, so...
Well, I've even found we with my wife and I bought a little hotspot thing we bring to out with us, and there's places that you just go and it's just dead zones, and then so it's you're right. It's the fact that you're developing something that helps people that don't have that access is pretty amazing too.
Yeah, that's critical. As much as we'd like to have broadband access across the country in every home, it's just not a reality yet.
So, and also each person with their TrueLoo, is there an app that goes with this too for the user and for the doctor or caregiver?
Yeah, so what we do right now, because we're working with nursing homes and these communities, we integrate our data into their existing systems. And so they don't need a separate app. Plus their residents, they wouldn't be interested in using it.
Yes.
Now that said, we do have an app, but the app isn't right now designed for caregivers and individuals to look at directly to look at the analysis. But that's something that we will come out with, and I'll be really excited to announce make some announcements around that next year.
Awesome.
And hopefully we'll be having some more users like you, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so exciting. I mean, the fact that it's just one less thing you have to think about is what I love.
Oh.
Like, no one likes going to the doctor. No one likes having to deal with all that stuff. And the fact that it's already available is, I think, groundbreaking.
I want to try it out. Are there demos for people to...
Yeah. You need subjects?
We have it installed in all the major senior living homes of the future. So there's a few of them all over the country and world where we have these installed. You can definitely check them out there. But I will tell you that the experience of using it may not necessarily blow your mind. It's in many ways, what's interesting about it is that the technology in some ways is designed to be forgotten.
Right.
It's designed to actually dissolve in the background and not really be a big deal. You're not supposed to interact with it in a major way. You're just really designed to just go about your business the way you normally do. And so it's really the power more of the data and the insights and the telehealth that can be delivered through it that I think is the more powerful thing.
No, but what if I installed it in my dad's care facility in his bathroom, and then I was like, wait, I gotta pee, and I ran into his. Will it tell the difference between me and him? And
Yeah. So two things on that front. So number one, if there is a guest button that allows opted out from on the device itself. And then secondly, the power of the data is really the fact that we're continuously monitoring it. So one or two additional data points, it's not going to screw things up. It's really designed to be looking at this over a long continuous period of time.
Right. So if her dad, let's just say, stopped using the toilet and then Ellen just kept using it, it would be okay, this has changed drastically from last week to this week. Yeah.
Yes, it would definitely understand that.
Yeah, that would be, I'm sure that would be an alert button that would be hey, there's something off here.
Yeah, because I have to pee every 30 minutes, so.
That is the best.
They'd be well, something's wrong here.
And with all this data collection and technology, which I think is again fantastic, is the goal later on in life, not later on in the company's life anyway, to maybe develop other systems that could work on different, not just the toilet, but I don't know, not that almost like Star Trek with the little sort of handheld body scanner. I just feel there's so many applications for this.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. So this is my vision for this company and our product set is really to build the bathroom of the future, because I believe that the bathroom is going to be the place where healthcare happens in the future.
Wow.
And so our first product is a replacement toilet seat, but we have some other products in the works that are going to really deliver a new type of experience, because the bathroom is kind of a very private place for people. It's a place where today they're already outputting and are doing very sensitive tasks. And so integrating other ways to understand more about what's going on in your body, understanding more about, how all kinds of information about yourself, I think is the right place in the home to put these. They shouldn't be just separate sensors or other things. And so I can't talk about the specifics on it, but I can tell you, based on some of the things we've disclosed, that we're working on a new type of mirror that can understand more about your health, as well as some other things.
That's exciting. I love that stuff. So this is, I can't wait to hear about it when, you start unleashing it. This is the wrong word. But yeah, congratulations. It's amazing. And toilet logging is, toilet logging is the best unintentional pun ever.
Yeah. I have a two-parter question. One, Dave and I both have those bidet attachments. So is it going to be in the way of the bidet attachment if you do?
So we're going to have an integrated version that we're going to be coming out with very soon.
You're singing into Dave's
I am
ears.
so excited for this. Like I can't even, I'm dead serious. Like this is amazing.
So yeah, I mean, like it sounds like we're all three of us are ahead of the curve here on usage of bidets, but most Americans do not use them.
Yeah.
But they're I think as people get more educated about them, it's going to be great to not only be able to have a hygiene experience, but also to have a health and wellness experience through your toilet seat.
Completely. This is the toilet I've been looking for my entire life, by the way. It has it literally has everything.
And my last question is, what about like pregnancy tests? Because urine is... Oh, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, 100%, Ellen. I you're exactly where I was shaking my head out of, I just because I
Flashback to a meeting. You're like, guys.
I'm shaking my head because that's absolutely right. I mean, there's so much information that you can get when you start including urine testing, and that's something that's in the works for us as well. And
wow.
so you can imagine a world where you can absolutely be, you can do pregnancy tests through something.
That's incredible.
I just keep imagining installing this into my dad's care facility, and then like somebody goes in and pees, and they're like, "I think your dad is pregnant."
Yeah.
At 82 years old.
Yeah, he's somehow
happen?
like. People will be studying that for years if that was actually a real thing. That'd be hilarious. Oh my God, that's so great.
I mean, I always love to ask our guests. We always have our regular questions, but you filled us with so much information that I don't think we need to go into them. But my favorite question to ask our guests is, what brand of toilet paper do you use, and do you put it on the roll, over or under? The great debate.
Great debate.
Yeah, this is our data point.
I use Kirkland toilet paper.
Ooh.
From Costco.
Yeah.
And it's over.
Okay.
Interesting.
Majority of our guests in the world, I believe, are over. I'm an under, but it's okay. I get a lot of...
Just going to point out the facts. A Harvard graduate is an over. Just going to point that out.
I mean, there's got to be another Harvard graduate that goes under, but we'll find that person. But yeah, cool. Well,
and I would love to get your friend on who wrote the book, What's My Poo Telling Me, on our show too. So I'm going to contact you about that. That sounds like our perfect match.
Yeah.
Happy to make an intro.
Excellent. Okay, well, with that, we're going to go into our little short segment called Shitty Choices. Shitty Choices. Here's what I got for you. Would you rather be famous for having the smelliest poops in history of like all time, like everybody knows your name and it's only because of that? Or you live a solitary life as a monk who has taken a vow of silence for the rest of your life? So you're famous for something awful, or you just live.
I think I'd probably choose the former.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that'd be okay. I could, I'm not about fame, or infamy. Yeah.
You're becoming a monk.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm already a monk. I don't need to, go there.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Just finish all your toilet experiments before you go into this monk.
Yeah, monk life. I think I'm going to go with the monk life too. I'm ready to maybe not be around computers, to not have to look at screens all day, to not have to be constantly bombarded by information. It's not, currently right now, if you would ask me when I was 22 or something like that, I probably would go with the smelliest poops, So I think currently right now I'm going to be a monk.
Oh my God. Dave, I'm going with smelly poo.
Of course. I knew you were going to choose that.
Because of this show. If I am the most famous person in the world for the smelliest poo, then everybody knows me, which means they will all know the podcast, which means we would have the most famous podcast in the world because they'd be like, oh my God, the girl with the smelly poos. has
True.
this great show that everybody should
Well,
tune into.
You're going to have to read my responses because I won't be able to speak or anything. So I'll have to write them out, mail them to you for. Okay. All right. So we got 2 monks and 1 smelly poop. Fame. Nice.
Taking over the show
Yes. There you go.
with my smelly poo.
Okay, so one last segment, and we'll get you out of here. It's a little news story. I'm gonna play that news intro right now, and we'll get right into it. Okay, so I've been watching, over the pandemic, I started watching this show on Netflix called Formula One, or F1. And I've actually been to a couple of Formula One races, and I loved it. I didn't think I'd care about car racing at all, but I really got into it. And mainly because it's from the tech side of it, where NASCAR is very like just... I don't know, beer and Cheetos. And Formula One is like launching a NASA space shuttle, just the way that they collect everything. The car is like basically a spaceship. So anyhow, this has to do with this. Lewis Hamilton, who is basically the #1 most winningest driver ever in the history of, or just about Formula One, was talking about how right before a race, he was talking to his pit crew, or crew people, went to the bathroom like 10 minutes before this race started, comes back and then tells them that he's glad he went to the toilet, but someone had gone in there before and dropped the craziest bomb in there, and it's going to haunt me for life. He tweeted that. Which I think is hilarious that was on his mind before like an insane race. Like an hours long race, and this guy's thinking about how bad that toilet smelled. Like, just imagine he's driving like 100 and, almost 200 miles an hour, and he's just like, this smell, I can't get the smell out of my head. It just permeated it. And I just love the fact that this guy is just going round and round, like just driving like a maniac, and just like someone took the worst poop I've ever smelled in my entire life.
And that someone was me, the most famous girl.
It was you.
Poos.
They're like, I don't know who this first exactly. It must be that woman.
It must be that girl with that fabulous podcast.
I just
takes the smelliest poos.
I just thought it was the fun. Like, he's talking to like the pit crew chief. He's like, yeah, we're in the lead, but seriously, go in that bathroom and see what happens. I don't know. I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. Well, with that goofy. Yeah. Well, anyway, with that goofy story, Vik, thank you so much for being on our show. You're fantastic. Thank you for all you do and what you provide. And please tell our audience where they can find you, like everything that we need to know about you.
Yeah, you can look up our website at toilabs.com. That's TOILABS, so toy like a toilet. And thank you all for listening today. It's great to get a little more awareness about poop.
Awesome. Well, you're fantastic.
Here for it.
Yes, we are here for it. Awesome.
And happy pooping, everybody, and enjoy your butthole.
Hey Poopy Podcast is brought to you by Perfect 4 Entertainment, produced by Dave and Ellen, with executive producer Stormy Leather, edited by me, Dave.
For more information, go to heypoopypodcast.com for episodes, merch, and more. Follow us on Instagram at Hey Poopy Podcast and Twitter at Hey Poopy. Theme song by Jordan Perlson. Hey Poopy.